Namaskaram to all of you and a very warm welcome to the Swayam MOOC Telugu learning program. Lesson 2, a study of defective forms. My name is Battula Venkateshwarlu and I will be your instructor for the Telugu language course. Today we are going to discuss one of the most important topics in Telugu grammar, defective forms. In our earlier lesson, we briefly discussed some defective verbs. Building upon that basic understanding, we will now explore defective forms in greater detail. In Telugu, there are many defective forms and each of them usually has its own corresponding negative form. Once you clearly understand how these defective and negative forms functions, you will find it much easier to construct grammatically correct and meaningful sentences. The concepts that we covered in the previous lesson will help you to follow today's topic more easily and connect the ideas in logical way. One of the most important features of defective verbs in Telugu is that they do not show subject agreement, which is also known as conquered. That means the verb does not change according to person, number or gender of the subject. Instead, the subject of a defective verb is usually expressed in the dative case. This is a major difference between defective verbs and regular verbs. While regular verbs agree with the subject, defective verbs follow a different grammatical pattern. In today's lesson, we will carefully study these special features of defective forms with clear explanation and suitable examples so that you will be able to use them confidently in both spoken and written Telugu. Let us now look at the related vocabulary. Now I am going to introduce more defective vocabulary that will be Telusu, which means no, Teliyadu, which means don't know, Teliyavu, which means don't know, plural form, Vachu, which means may, can, Radu, which means can't, Ravu, I don't know. Based on the above vocabulary, now we will see the conversation one by one. The conversation is, Sita will ask, నీకు మన వాళ్ళల్లో ఎవరెవరు తెలుసు? Which means, whom do you know among our people? Geeta will reply, నాకు కొందరు మాత్రమే తెలుసు, అందరి గురించి తెలియదు. Which means, I only know a few, I don't know about everyone. వాళ్ళు చేసే పనులు తెలుసా? Which means, do you know what they do? వాళ్ళు చేసే పనులు తెలియవు. Which means, I don't know their work. Next character, గీత నీకు వంట చేయడం వచ్చా? అట్లాగే పాటలు పాడటం తెలుసా? Which means, can you cook? Do you know how to sing a song? Geeta will reply, వంట చేయడం వచ్చు, నాకు పాటలు రావు. Which means, I can cook, I can't sing. ఈ ఆటలు ఆడడం వచ్చా? Can you play this game? ఆటల గురించి తెలియదు, మనకు ఆటలు రావు. Which means, I don't know about games or I don't like games. Now we are going to discuss one by one. Are you ready? Done. Namaskaram. This example perfectly illustrates a defective verb construction in Telugu grammar. Sita's question, నీకు మన వాళ్ళల్లో ఎవరెవరు తెలుసు? Whom do you know among our people? Here, నీకు dative case marker, which means to you, singular non-honorific, human recipient subject. మన వాళ్ళల్లో, which means మన వాళ్ళు, our people plus locative marker lo, which means in among. Evarevaru, which means sandhi form is evaru plus evaru, who plus whom, which means whom all. Telusu, defective verb, which means is known or knows. No subject agreement, affirmative form. Now we will discuss the grammar concept. Defective verbs like telusu require dative subject for experience, roles, knowledge, feelings, unlike nominative agreeing, finite verbs. The full structure conveys telusu to you. Among our people, who all is known, naturally becoming whom do you know among our people. The immediate negative form is teliyavu, which means don't know. It is a plural form. Here we will see the grammar part. Defective subject plus locative phrase plus interrogative plus defective verb. నీకు dative case subject, మన వాళ్ళల్లో locative phrase, ఎవరెవరు interrogative pronoun, తెలుసు which means defective form. Let's look at the next one. Geeta states, నాకు కొందరు మాత్రమే తెలుసు, అందరి గురించి తెలియదు, which means I only know a few. I don't know about everyone. This sentence shows two key points about defective verbs and dative subjects in Telugu grammar. Naku is the dative case form, meaning to me, marking the experience as the subject of the knowledge verb. The defective verbs telusu, which means know, in the affirmative, and teliyadu, negation form of don't know, expresses states of knowing or not knowing without subject agreement. Here, kondaru matrame, which explore that only a few, and andari gurinchi means about everyone, showing how quantification and a topic are expressed with dative experiences. Thus, these sentences is a great example of how Telugu uses defective verbs with dative experiences to describe cognitive states naturally and efficiently. We will see the grammar concept. Dative subject plus limited group, emphasis plus defective verb, and genitive group plus postposition plus negative defective verb. Naku, dative subject, kondaru matrame, limited number, which means only a few. Telusu, defective verb in the positive manner. Andari gurinchi, about everyone, which means genitive plus postposition. Teliyadu, defective verbs, which means negative. The final combined meaning is, I know only a few people. I don't know about everyone. The following explanation is, Geeta asks, వాళ్ళు చేసే పనులు తెలుసా? Which means, do you know what they do? This sentence uses the defective verb telusu, know, with an implied dative subject in a question form. Here, వాళ్ళు, which stands for they, చేసే పనులు, which means the things, which means work, they do, and తెలుసా is the interrogative form of defective verb asking, do you know? In Telugu grammar, defective verbs like telusu take dative subjects indicating the observer of the knowledge. The question word and structure seamlessly accommodate this with no subject verb typical agreement. We'll see the grammar description. Pronoun plus relative participle plus noun plus interrogative defective verb. వాళ్ళు, third person plural pronoun. refers to the group of people spoken about earlier subject, which means they. చేసే derived from the verb చేయు, which means to do. This is a relative participle form, doing, used to describe the noun that follows. పనులు, which means works or jobs. తెలుసా, interrogative form of the defective verb తెలుసు, which means to know. is the question marker. Convert the statement into a yes or no questions defective verb in question form. Let's look at the meaning of the next line. Geeta responds, వాళ్ళ పనులు నాకు తెలియవు, which means I don't know their work. వాళ్ళ పనులు, which means their works or things. వాళ్ళ, their plus పనులు means works. నాకు means to me, marking the participant subject for the defective verb తెలియవు, negative form of defective తెలుసు. No, which means is not known. No subject agreement here. The language structure is genitive noun plus noun, dative subject plus negative defective verb. వాళ్ళ form of వాళ్ళు means they, genitive case form. పనులు plural of పని, which means work, job, task, object praise, which means works. నాకు dative case form of నేను, which means I, used as the subject with the defective verbs, which means to me. తెలియవు negative defective verb, which means do not know. Please remember here, it does not change according to the person, number or gender. Final combined meaning is I do not know their works or I don't know what kind of work they do. Next, the explanation note is, గీత నీకు వంట చేయడం వచ్చా, అట్లాగే పాటలు పాడడం తెలుసా. గీత, can you cook? Do you know how to sing a song? Here, నీకు means to you, indicating the person who has the skill or knowledge. వంట means cook, a noun for the action or skill. చేయడం is the verbal noun, meaning is doing, combined with cooking to mean cooking. వచ్చా, it is a defective verb form asking can you or do you know how to, used to inquire about ability. అట్లాగే means likewise or similarly, linking the two abilities in question. పాటలు means songs, plural of పాట, and పాడటం is the verbal noun singing. తెలుసా means do you know or can you, and ask about knowledge or ability. Geeta replies, వంట చేయడం వచ్చు, నాకు పాటలు రావు. I can cook, I can't sing. The clarification is here, వంట చేయడం వచ్చు, which means I can cook. Here, వచ్చు express the ability or capability in a positive form, combined with the verbal noun చేయడం. నాకు పాటలు రావు, which represents I don't know how to sing. రావు is a defective negative modal verb expressing inability, used here in its plural form to agree with the plural noun పాటలు. These structure with verbal nouns plus ability question or statement verbs వచ్చా, తెలుసా, వచ్చు, రావు is common in Telugu to express and inquire about skills. This is useful for learners to form meaningful practical sentences about abilities. Important note about ravu, which means not known. Ravu is a defective verb form used for expressing inability or lack of skill. because the subject పాటలు, which means songs, is plural. The negative verb also appear in plural రావు. Here is a detailed explanation of the following conversation in Telugu with clear highlights and language development. The following conversation, ఈ ఆటలు ఆడడం వచ్చా? Which means, can you play this game? ఆటల గురించి తెలియదు, మనకు ఆటలు రావు. I don't know about games. I don't like games. Analyze the explanation of this line. ఆటలు is a plural for games used as the direct object in the question. Plurality requires corresponding verb forms or negations in answers. ఆడటం is the verbal noun form, which means gerund, of to play, which applies to both singular and plural subjects here, indicating ongoing or general action. Vacha, it is an interrogative question form meaning can you or do you know how to. It is a flexible or singular and plural depending on context. In the reply, ఆటల గురించి తెలియదు uses తెలియదు, a singular negative verb which indicates I don't know, but expressing unfamiliarity or lack of knowledge even though the subject is plural, here treated as an exception. Alternatively, మనకు ఆటలు రావు uses రావు, a defective plural negation verb that means do not know, agreeing with the plural ఆటలు. The final form is I don't know about games or I don't like games. This exchange illustrates how Telugu handles plural objects with either singular or plural negations depending on the verb and the context. The use of gerund in questions about ability or permission along with appropriate verb conjugations in the answer is important learning point for Telugu sentence construction and communication. This structure is practical and frequently used in conversational Telugu to discuss capabilities. Once learners understand how each part functions, they can gradually connect these segments to grasp the complete meaning of a sentence. This method helps learners clearly understand how vocabulary, grammar, and expressions work together to create accurate, natural, and context-appropriate sentences. By constructing sentences word by word and analyzing how they interact, learners develop a deeper understanding of grammatical patterns and expressive stylistic features. This approach not only strengthens comprehension but also improve the ability to speak, write, and interrupt the language with confidence. Ultimately, learning with the help of these detailed and structured methods makes the entire language learning process clearer, richer, and far more effective. In this way, once learners clearly understand the subject or the main idea of a sentence, they can begin to construct the remaining parts step by step. By building the structure around the subject, adding the verb, objects, markers, and modifiers, they gradually learn how sentences are formed in a new language. This method not only helps them recognize how words functions individually, but also how they combine to create meaningful and accurate expressions. When learners follow this structured approach, they develop a deeper understanding of sentence formation, grammatical patterns, and the logic of the language. Ultimately, mastering a language becomes easier and more effective when one starts with a clear subject and constructs the sentence thoughtfully, part by part. Keep learning every day and with regular practice. Thank you.